Right, quick build report for my mill chip shield as well as my mill table cover. I've had this mill for a while and to be honest it kind of flings chips just about anywhere you can imagine, and generally the anywhere part is usually you. So now you'll notice a bit of a theme. They're both white. This one's about as white as virgin snow. The reason for that is that these are just chunks of corian I had lying around. I built this because, let's go back. I built this because this is just to sit in front of the cutter, just simply so, just to prevent a few of the chips from getting onto my shirt and my legs. I'm fine if it goes that way, but towards me is a bit of an annoyance. These table covers are there because I am sick and tired of cleaning out those mill slots. I don't have a mill slot cleaner. I really ought to make one. Best I can do right now is just jam this thing in there and then scrape it out. Not to mention I keep throwing tools on the table like that and I'm afraid I'm going to ding it up so bad that I can't just stone it out at some point. I know I probably won't, but you know, better safe than sorry. You know, I use this thing, chuck it on the table. I don't gotta worry about that hitting cast iron. It's just gonna hit this bit of corian, call it a day. Now, I initially thought about making this out of just a sheet of aluminium or a sheet of micarta, because I've got both of those lying around. However, I don't want to use micarta because it's expensive and I don't have that much lying around. And two, I don't want to use aluminium because of something called galvanic corrosion, and cast iron on aluminium will actually start rusting each other pretty good, and I don't want that happening. I had this big chunk of corian, nice big strip of it, sitting around, so I cut two bits into I think this 500 on this side and 450 on this side. Notched it out with just a file and a bandsaw so that it would fit snugly into the corner of the vise right there. It's heavy enough that it's not going to slide around with like this fairly heavy stuff. This is like ½ inch, maybe more, of corian, and that is not going to move around on itself. So, got a nice surface for me to bang my tools down on, just like so. Now, I have more corian left over, so I glued a bunch of it up into a nice little block. So I'm originally going to use aluminium, but I wanted to just test how corian machined, and frankly, it machines like crap. You can see all the mill marks in there, and all that chipping. That's from machining, not from cutting, eh? And this bit of acrylic, it's just acrylic. It's nothing fancy. I just had lying around as well, so I just put 2 holes in it. You can see I don't even use the right length screws. And this has done a pretty good job. I mean, this will definitely get scratched up and scuffed. I'm not too fussed about that. I've got like 4 or 8 more of these sheets. That'll last me till my grandkids are... Now altogether, this took me about an hour. Gluing and the machining wasn't too bad. The drilling and tapping was more of an issue because this thing doesn't really tap well. So I kind of just jammed a bunch of nuts in there. Might have to do a full drill this all the way through and then put a nut and bolt assembly on there instead. And the mill table cover took me about 30 minutes. I mean, once I cut it out of the bandsaw, about 30 minutes just notching those. Not too bad. Take a file to all the corners, nice and smooth. The real pain point for this was that I used some wood glue for this, and apparently it's not good enough. And about halfway through machining, the entire thing kind of slid apart and then delaminated. I managed to hold it back together and then like squeeze it back into place, and it's holding now. But you can see that this front bit is actually lower than the others, and I just couldn't be bothered to machine it again. And the reason for that is because, well, that's the part that came off and it ran right into the cutter. I think these went really nicely. It looks clean, it looks nice, it's going to get dirty, but corian is a non-porous and extremely stable, even with oil and everything else around it. So I assume it will hold up pretty well, as long as I don't drop it on the ground or something. I think it can be a bit brittle, especially at this weight. If I were to do anything differently, or any modifications I'd make, is that I might just bore a couple of holes on the bottom of this and glue some magnets in there just to help hold it in place. But this is so heavy with the cuts I'm taking that I think it might actually just be unnecessary. It's stable enough, and that's not going to make that much of a difference, I don't think. With these, I might make a couple of corian blocks, little nubbins the size of my T-slots, and then just glue them in with a bit of epoxy so that it can't move in and out by itself. However, even with power feed at rapid, it doesn't move at all, so I'm not too fussed about it. I've slattered a bit of LPS3 underneath, and that's all it needs to keep rust out as well. Alright, cheers. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you got something out, some ideas for your next project. Have a good one.